And welcome back to Living Off Grid. I'm not sure if you can hear it or not, but it's raining pretty good. Not a terrible rain. We're down at the sawmill today. I've got a big log I need to get done. Hopefully we can get an 8x8, one or two 6x6s out of it, along with some other lumber we can use. As soon as this rain passes, we're going to try to get this thing up on here with the tractor and that chain there on the ground. And I'll show you how I do that, and then we'll cut her up, and I'll do a few shots as we roll this thing around, get the round sides off of it, and start making some lumber. Hopefully we can get it done. I'm expecting the rain to stop in about 20 minutes, maybe less. But here's my sawmill. We're going to use her today. And also want to pan back here and let you know that rainwater collection is happening right now. I just dumped her out. We're filling her back up. Catch all that rain hitting this roof. All right, we'll come back here in a minute when the rain's gone. Alright, so Forgive the mud. I look like a real hillbilly right now. We got our upper on there. He's a big log, as you can see with my opening. I still had plenty of room. The largest log I put up here was 22 inches in diameter, which is the max my sawmill will handle. And I still had room to get it in there, so I'm very pleased with the opening that I created. If I was not able to get it up there with my tractor, I still have the option of the winch in the back or a combination of both. You noticed at the very end there I picked up a couple of wedges. That's what I used temporarily to kind of get it up in there. I do have clamps that I can use to restrain it, but being the log is quite large, the clamps will stick out too much and I won't be able to run my sawmill back and forth. So now what I got to do is I got to get up in here and I've got to make sure it's all the way back and try to maybe even rotate it if I need to, if there's any kind of bow or bend. I want that bow up. Typically makes the best cut, relieves the most stress from what I've seen before. So we're going to go do that in the next shot. I'm going to reset up and try to get you guys a walk around view of what this log looks like up on the mill. Coming right back. And here she sits on the mill. As you can see, the larger end, the butt end, she's up against that log dog there. However, the other end is not. And if you notice from the short video before, it actually overhangs the far side a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to drop these log dogs down a little bit now that the log's up here, and see if we can't make it fit on here a little more evenly. I'll be back in just a second. Alright, so as you can see, the log's sitting better on here now. The butt end's moved over a little bit. It tried to do that on its own. I'd rather it rest on its most natural point of roll. Got the front end scooched over a little bit, and the dogs are holding it well with the 3 wedges that I have on the other side. So now we're going to make our first couple of cuts. We're going to take off this round here at the top. Typically what I do is I come down far enough to where I'm at least 6 inches wide into the real good wood, and then I'll take off, I'll rotate it 90 or 180 and I'll take off another flat, and then we'll turn it into a square can. And like that, we've got one already cut. Now we got to remove the slab. I typically just run them off the edge here. and then I'll pick them up later with the tractor and stack them in my pile. These can be rather heavy, especially on green logs. Nice clean cut here. And I believe starting out down at this end, I've got close to 8 inches or more. Currently this is 13 inches high, according to my gauge on my mill. So we're going to roll her back, and I will probably rotate it 90 degrees and do this side up here. Alright, so we go around to do that. First thing I got to do is remove my wedges, because I'm going to have to spin this thing, or I'm going to have to move it this way just a little bit. I'll probably leave my wedges somewhat there, keep it from rolling off. And you just saw my biggest issue with the way I developed this. So I've got to do a lot of walking back and forth to move the log around. There goes that board. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, I'm put these up to pretty good height, because I need something to reference this edge on, so that when I make the next cut I get a 90-degree cut. So that's what these are for as well. They give you a reference edge, so this flat surface sits flat against it, and then the blade is at a 90-degree angle to these. I've got some nice adjustment screws that help out. Oh, by the way, you're wondering what this is for removing bark from trees, but I find it more useful for what I'm doing down here as a spud bar. Now what I'm looking for before I run this, I want to make sure that there's no gap between the face of this and the face of the log here. Currently on this end there's about a 1/4 inch gap, so I'm going to have to scoot it that way, and about the same thing down there. But it does look nice and even, so let's just scoot it in here a little bit. On this side I have a clamping mechanism. I've got 2 of them, and I've cut enough off to where I can move it in there at this point. Okay. Sorry for the rain noise. That's why I like having a covered sawmill. I can actually work and in the rain if I need to. It's not great for making videos, but I figured y'all might want to see how I do the logs. Look how pretty that wood grain is. It's going to look really nice. Let me show you those log dogs. Oops, sorry for the shake. Alright, so as you can see, there's no gap here. That flat surface is referenced on this. So when I take off the next one, I should get a true 90-degree edge. We'll come around to this side. You can see the clamping mechanisms that I have, kind of like a screw clamp. And they sell another type that's a quick clamp. I don't have that just yet. Actually, it doesn't come for this size sawmill. The next size up has it. But I'll contact them and see if I can get it for this one. Alright, I'm going to put you back and we're going to get to cutting. Look how dirty my hands are getting. I don't mind getting dirty. Alright. Okay, so I started that cut 2 inches below the one I actually finished with, and I realized that I probably could salvage some more lumber out of that, some 2x. It's pretty wide up until you get down toward that end, so being 14 foot long, I could probably get a 2x8, 10 feet or more. I would have lost that if I hadn't continued with that first cut, so we're going to go back and do that in a second. But first I got to get rid of the slab. And of course that makes my slab a little lighter. Alright, now let's go back and get that 2x out of here. When you're sawing with logs that are bigger on one end than the other, sometimes you have to change strategies a little bit. Does that sometimes, but she runs all the time. Alright, so this big piece of the board I would have lost if I hadn't stopped, backed up, and tried again. It's got a little bit of knots in it because we're getting up into the upper part of the tree, but this will make a good, probably a 2x10 up until about, well, definitely a 2x8 up until this last knot right here. That other portion I can just cut off. That's a good board. We're going to take it off as well. Now, you'll notice I've got a lot of tree edge, live edge left on this. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to stand this up on end here a little bit later and take that off and take it off this end, and what's left in the middle is going to be my board. Okay. Now, I'm going to bring you forward here a little bit. I know, right? Best production quality in the world. You'll notice I got a nice 90-degree edge here. And I've checked this and checked this and checked this on my mill, and I know it's good. I know my setup's good, and I keep checking it just in case something ever moves. But we have a nice, good start to quite a large size cant here. I'm going to rotate it 90 one more time. Take off some, rotate it 90, and do that again. So I'll be right back. Okay, we got it flipped over now. And if you notice, I dropped the large dogs, and I'm using some smaller dogs here, because right now I've got basically a flat surface here to reference off of, as well as this side, which is not going to affect my cut. So what I switched to are these little log dogs right here. Now these are only about 4 inches tall, and you can drop them all the way down to where they're 3/4 inches high. So I can take cuts without ever running into them. Whereas the larger ones, if I leave them up and I start cutting away, I may actually run into them and damage my blade. And it will happen. It always happens. Sawing with Sandy just did it today on his video, and he's been cutting at least a decade as far as I know. So, alright, so we're going to take this side off, we're going to rotate it, take the other side off, and then we're going to start making real board. Third side cut. Okay, now we'll get this out of the way. On that cut, I did not use my clamps. This log's heavy enough that it's not moving around. I can barely push it, so I put some real weight into it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to rotate this one last time, cut off the last bit of bark. So I got to push it out a little bit. So that when I flip it, it stays up here. Always a little tricky. I'm going to show you how I do that this time. This device is called a camp hook or a PV. I've lifted such heavy logs with it, I've actually put a bend in it. They don't normally come with that and come straight. So you can put a lot of power through this tool to flip a log, rotate a log. And this one has a special feature where you can roll a log up off the ground. It's capturing the log here, and what's sticking out you can cut firewood off of real easy. I'm using it for this though. This thing right now is about 10 inches wide and 13 inches tall, so it's pretty heavy. But easy enough to handle. Okay, so now we'll get rid of the rest of this bark and start cutting some wood. Yes, that motor diesels. I don't know why. All right. There we go. So currently we're setting at a 10 by 10. I'm only going to get an 8 by 8 out of this and a couple of boards. I will not get the 6 by 6 that I wanted. That was kind of a pipe dream for this piece anyway. So, I'm going to back it up and we're going to take 2 off. And that'll put us at 8 inches high. And I might stick that other log back up here so I can take the top off of it at the same time. And that'll allow me to use this as a reference. As you notice, that one took a little longer than the others. It's because I'm cutting through a little bit thicker material. But that bark has been removed from that one board. And I have a new board here that I'm going to flip up and do the same thing to in just a moment. First, I'm going to get it out of the way. Decide how I'm going to do that. I also want to bring you up here and show you how pretty poplar wood can be. That finish there, that grain. I'll make some beautiful cabin logs there. Okay, right now this one's currently 10 inches wide. There's a 2-inch board right here. We're going to take a 2-inch board off of this, one side or the other, probably this side, and that'll make it 8 by 8. It's 8 inches tall already, so. Gotta unclamp it. Sorry for the rain noise. So just like the last cut, this is 10 inches tall, 8 inches wide. We're going to take this one down to 8. And while we're doing that, we're going to cut off some of the wane or bark from that other board that we saved earlier. So we'll do that, and we should be about done with this log. probably noticed there that I backed up and I took a 1-inch cut. Well, shooting a video is not something I normally do when I cut on a sawmill, and I realized that it was 8 by 11, so I made a 1 by here out of this, and then I'm going to come back and make a 2 by. I'll end up with an 8 by 8. It also helps me a little bit because I can get a little bit of wane off the other side of that board that's there. But now I've got a nice little 1 by here I can use somewhere. Okay, I'm trying to do this without flipping sides and starting the video again. And what you're going to see here is we got a 1 by 8 here, we got a 1 by 8 here, or excuse me, a 2 by 8 and a 2 by 8, and I've got my 8 by 8, as well as I've got the 1 by 8 over there and the other 2 by 8. So I'm getting drenched. We're going to load this wood up and get it onto the drying rack, get it covered, and we're going to call it a day. Thank you for watching. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Let me know what else you want to see on the channel.